Listen, I knew of the Typhoon Odette because my virtual assistant, Christine, actually lives in the Philippines, but she's actually far away from it and was not affected by it. But I wanted to bring you in and have a conversation to anybody who's willing to listen and watch this about the effects of Typhoon Odette on My Refuge House that's in the Philippines, of which you are the CEO. And I think it was a really tough week for everyone there.
Yeah, I have found myself using the word wrenching a lot. I think on so many levels it's been wrenching for me personally, just when I went live to try to talk about it a couple of days ago, half of my heart is over there. And so just like to be far away and feel kind of helpless. And communication is still very limited. The last message I got from one of our directors, Roseanne, as the typhoon was hitting was, "Please pray for us. This is really scary." And then I didn't hear from them for 24 hours. And so I was just living, and the news here did a pretty terrible job of covering. And I think some of that is because it was just impossible for people to know what was going on. I think it was just communication is still down for so many parts around Cebu and areas. So, I've been lucky I've gotten about one phone call a day. And then another staff person was able to post some pictures last night that I was able to see. So,
and what is going on? What are you seeing there?
It's widespread destruction. Really remarkably, though, lives have been lost. Not at My Refuge House. All of our staff and girls are safe. I actually messaged last night with another, there's another partner organization really close to where we are. And I messaged with their directors, and they were just marveling at how their houses are also destroyed, and but their staff and their girls are okay. I think several of our staff have lost their homes completely. And one of our staff, actually, he and his family took shelter at our shelter, even though it was slightly better than his. And I've been really amazed by him because he continues to show up to work. He waited in line with our van for 5.5 hours to get fuel the other day.
Wow.
And was finally able to get fuel for the vehicle to then be able to go try to get supplies, where you're also going to wait in line. But I just kept thinking, his home has been destroyed, and yet he's still showing up to try to help us. I don't know. I've just been in tears most of the time. As you know me, I cry the most in two situations: deep connection and profound disconnection. And so I've been bouncing, I've just felt so unbelievably grateful for the outpouring of love and support from so many people and our staff. That was the first word that I got, really, was because we had two staff who walked 12 miles from where our campus is to the city to be able to report that everybody was safe. And that just moves me to know that they are valued enough that we would want to know. And also to know that we would want to know that the shelter had been destroyed, that our security wall, a huge section of our security wall is about 20 feet high, and those walls just completely collapsed. We're a place of safety, and to have our safety walls gone is a little unnerving. But also to watch the community then respond. And we've been able to hire a couple people, and a couple other people are just watching our property to keep it safe.
Heather, can you tell us, because I don't think I made it clear what My Refuge House is.
Oh, sure. Yeah. My Refuge, we are a residential therapeutic home in the Philippines, in Cebu, just in one of the provinces outside of Cebu City, that is a therapeutic home for girls who've been rescued from sex trafficking. So I think our youngest girl right now is 10, and we have currently we have 16 girls on campus, and at any given point in time we usually have 5 or 6 staff. So that's kind of who was on campus, along with our chickens and goats and dogs and cats.
And
And they're all safe. Even Roseanne sent a series of videos, which I actually just posted to our YouTube channel. And I'm trying to figure out how to get up on other social media. Just they're short little videos, just as a tour of here's what's happened. And in one of the videos, it's kind of interrupted by this mother hen walking by with like 3 or 4 baby chicks following behind her. And it's just like, how are they okay? You know, like, how did those tiny little fragile baby chicks? And it just, speaks to the power of mother hens, I guess. So
what, sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Take a call here.
Yeah. Sorry, I just get that echo.
I don't hear an echo, Deanna.
Okay, great. What is the morale, or can you get a sense of what's happening with the girls and everyone there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I like to share with people is when I first accepted this job with My Refuge House, my staff did a cultural lesson with me about, and they really wanted to impress upon me what it means to be Filipino. Mm-hmm. And in my first lesson, the primary thing they wanted me to know was that they are a people of resilience, that it's a culture where resilience is baked into their very DNA. And the way that they said it was, look, we have typhoons and earthquakes and volcanoes, and all they do is destroy things, and all we do is rebuild. Mm-hmm. So I think that they are exhausted. One of our directors, Omar, has just, they didn't include pandemics in that list of things. And I think all of us most of the world can appreciate just how exhausting it is to continue facing a global pandemic. And then they have just had several other things that have just been kind of on top of pandemic. And Omar has really been at the forefront, and his level of vulnerability of just kind of sharing how overwhelming it is. And yet he still goes, and he leads the way with such hope and such grace, that it's admirable. And he and Roseanne are such a powerful partnership of directors there. I can't imagine. Roseanne's just a tremendous sounding board and a resource and a mobilizer, and the way that they function in symphony is just, I'm just speechless. Yeah.
What are you doing on this side or from the States to help them in the Philippines?
Every time they call, they just ask for people to keep them in their thoughts and prayers. Like that's the first thing that they say, because I think they know that it's just so overwhelming. And that really means a lot to them, just to know that people haven't forgotten them. I'm trying to raise awareness, and we've started a typhoon relief campaign. So that's online. That's on our website at myrefugehouse.org/give. And really, that's our primary effort right now. We're hoping this week to have our architect and contractor come in and do a better, like a more thorough assessment about long-term recovery efforts and a recovery plan with estimates. Lines are so long. Right now, our thinking is that we're focused on 3 things right now, and that's safety, shelter, and provisions. So as long as those are intact right now, we're okay. But we're hoping to have a longer term plan to really be able to articulate the need to people for rebuilding those security walls and getting roofs back on houses and electricity back intact and safe, so that wires aren't dangling.
Yeah. When we consider the safety, what are some of the safety implications? What might be some of the impacts that could hamper their safety?
It's both physical safety and like the ongoing emotional safety, right? For like all of our girls came to us from stories of trauma, and they're particularly vulnerable, and we want our campus to be a safe place. So we don't want people just coming onto campus. That feels very unsafe. So that is a big piece of that. But also, I think there are a couple typhoons still hanging out in the water, and it's just unnerving, because this one escalated so quickly overnight. I mean, that's part of the reason nobody talked about it, is that it seemed like a nothing storm at first, and then within 24 hours, it was a super typhoon. So some of that is just kind of making sure that they feel secure with where they're staying physically, that they feel that shelter is a safe place, that it's not going to collapse in on them, that that they have the food and water they need. But also there's a level of emotional, we still haven't been able to get in touch with all of their families. So they're still worried about their families. There's just all of that that's still kind of trying to figure out, how do we stabilize this? But that's kind of what we do. Like, we deal with trauma. It's just not always typhoon trauma. So we're just kind of applying our skills and putting in structure, putting in play, putting in the things that kids need in order to still feel like they can put one step in front of the other.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad that they are there. They have each other.
Oh, it's amazing.
Right. And they have your leadership there at the house, and they have everyone here stateside who is giving, and your organizers. And I'm so glad they have you, Heather.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Deanna. Thanks for creating. I mean, this is a huge part of what we can do here, is just raise awareness. There's so much going on in the US, right? Like, we've had our own destruction and pandemic and all of that, I just truly believe that everybody needs to do something. If My Refuge House isn't your something, do something else. But the more that we raise awareness, the more that the people for whom My Refuge House is the right fit, they will find us.
Yeah. And I think it's a right fit for anyone who is like you, Heather, who leads with their heart so fully, and who is a connector, and who is always seeing the light in whatever is happening.
Thanks, Deanna. Yeah.
Thanks, Heather. If you want to give, you can go to myrefugehouse.org/give, and whatever you have will definitely be helpful. And Heather, we'll keep in conversation. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Deanna.
Bye.